What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be looking at some tuning and how it works in this game. Okay, so first of all, we're going to just pick a random car. We'll start off with an all-wheel drive build for this video, and then we'll have to do another one with rear-wheel drive. Kind of like you know, like a good set point to start off. Right, depending on the car, it all changes, right? You know, right, like how the settings work and the tuning, right? What you can amplify, what you could change, what you can do with it, and how the mechanics of the tuning works in this game, per se. All right, so let's just take like a Z01, for example, okay? And we'll make it all-wheel drive for this video. This one could be quicker in rear-wheel. Never tuned this car before, right? So we're just going to kind of take it by ear, right? But I know for first of all, like when it comes to tuning with the car, right, you want to make sure you do your swaps, yada yada, right? And now a good point to make, right, is before you upgrade, always do your swaps first, right? Like, you go back, you have this car stock, so you don't waste your money. Go to fine-tuning setups just to see what the max power that someone's running is, right? Just so you don't have to check. You know, like, you'll know you have the right motor when you go and upgrade it. So 1500 is all I'm seeing. So that's the first thing you're going to check before you decide to make a tune, right? I mean, just to see, you know, like what engine swap's going to benefit you the most. So 1500 is the max from people that have made tunes on the Creator Hub, right? So that's kind of what we were looking at there. And so now I know that I should have 1500 horse if I pick the right motor when I build it. And, you know, we're going to make it all-wheel drive, lots of torque. Wide body kit, certain cars they're better, certain they're not. It looks cool and it doesn't add any weight, right? So we're going to pick that, of course, right? It's not going to alter anything. Now we already have the all-wheel drive. The rear wheel is going to be better when it comes to trap speeds and stuff, right? But the all-wheel, I mean, there is a chance, you know, that it could be, you know, the best all around. You know, like you're not going to lose a lot of trap speed with the way I'm going to be building it here today. Okay, so first thing, right, we got our swaps done. This is the motor that should be about 1500 horse, I'm assuming. So let's yep, okay, just drop right in 8.9, perfect. So it is. We didn't have to worry about the upgrades. It's an easy one. So first of all, you know, put your race brakes on. Springs and dampers when it comes to drag cars in this game. Okay, you're going to want to always go with rally. You know, it's not going to be necessarily about the weight on this. Now, there's certain cars, right, like Pro Stock or something like that, you know, like where the game has like a gimmick. I call them gimmick cars, right? They're essentially like, you know, like where it has like crazy traction no matter what you put in it, right? Like rear-wheel drive in the Pro Stock is actually quicker than the all-wheel drive, for example, right? It's lighter, it still grips the same regardless, even 100% power to the rear. But this car, it's not going to be one of those gimmick cars, right? So, you know, see Forza, a little bit of the sneaky devs, they're in the background, you know, they're changing things, physics every few days even, it seems like. But anytime there's an update, things change. So first of all, race suspension's pretty ideal. If you have all-wheel, you can make it work. But right now, if you want maximum takeoff, right, you're going to want flex in the suspension, right? And that's going to come in clutch when it comes to the tuning we do with diff locks and, you know, suspension, dampening, rebound stiffness, all that stuff. So we're always going to go with the rally suspension, long story short. Always put the anti-roll bars. That's going to keep the car stable, straight as possible. Right? We want it to just hook and book, right? No, you know, no like flex and turning or anything like that. I just want to be on a rail, you know, so the car stays stable. Roll cages, see, the stats lie in this game, right? See, now, like, it's not going to actually add, like, acceleration. It's going to slow you down, right, when you have a proper tune. See, now, if you're not tuning the car, a roll cage can help, right? But when it goes to tuning the car, essentially, when it comes to the whole mechanics of diff, suspension, like all sorts of stuff, right? Tranny gears, final drives, gear ratios and the gearing, all that stuff, it's going to change, right? Because you can alter all that stuff, and one's going to correspond with the other a certain way, which I will show you in this video here. But basically, that's why you're never going to add a roll cage, I mean, no matter what. And, you know, I learned that through the few years of tuning I have. Weight reduction, always be putting that in, of course. Right, the roll cage adds way too much weight, so like I said, don't be adding that. Anti-roll bars are race, like I said, race brakes, springs and dampers are always rally. For pretty much 99% of the cars in the game, it's going to be rally when it comes to drag builds. Right, we already have, you know, tranny. Some of the stock ones are better. Right now, with this car, we have 1,500 horse, right, and it's light. It's about 3,300 pounds. So, realistically, hey, I mean, you know, we could try the 4-speed, right? I mean, it might have enough. It has enough torque for sure. 1,100 foot-pounds. Torque's going to get you off the line. Power is going to hold you and make you climb in the high RPM range, right? So with this kind of car, you want to find that, you know, like the gearing to keep it in your rev, but not losing torque, because the more power, right, that you access, you start losing torque near the end of the torque band on each gear, right? So, but certain cars will falter that, like, depends on the RPM, the power band. Like I said, some won't lose torque, right? It's just depending on how you set it up as well. But basically, that's why, you know, drift transmission is going to be good for something very light with, like, you know, stupid power, right? So power to weight ratio. 4-speed is the way to go, right, for what we're doing, right, because we're going to be doing, you know, the Mexico drag strip, like, so that's where everyone goes to tune and all that, right? So essentially, we're going to always pick either, you know, the stock trans, if it's unlockable, for all the gears, but usually we'll go with a 4-speed to start. Certain cars is 6-speed, right, but it's very, you kind of learn the cars that you're able to and not. Drift differential, for some reason, it's a gimmick part in the game. It always is better than race. It's always better than the off-road as well, right, when it comes to drag strip. So always drift differential. Right, there's proven numbers, guys, if you go look up on forums and everything too. I never really made a video on that yet, but it truthfully is the best. So drift differential, rally suspension, right, and then you're gonna, since it's all-wheel drive, right, we're gonna be putting probably 80 to 90% of power to the rear. Right, so I mean, it's not going to be essentially rear-wheel drive, but it'll be majority of it will be, right? But it's just the fronts are going to pull a bit to kind of, you know, make it a little more lenient with not spinning the back wheels as easy, right? So, you know, rear tires, right, you're going to have them wide on an all-wheel drive car. And the front, you can put them wide. Right? Increasing the rim size in this game, right, is actually going to help with grip. It's just the physics of Forza. It's just how it works. And essentially, it kind of manipulates the gears a little bit. Right? So now, so basically, yeah, I put the rim size on the rear maxed out. And the fronts, I'm going to keep them small as possible. Okay, so basically, you're going to go to specialized rims, the lightest rims in the game. Now, watch out for your cars. You hit Y, you can toggle through this stuff. But now, there's one thing that doesn't lie in this game, is the weight, right? So, right, but the thing is, there's good weight and bad weight. Now, it's depending on your tuning, right? But you want it as light as possible. Stock, specialized rim style, just go up, so you go right to the bottom right off the bat. Go up here again, go a few times up, and you'll find them right here. They're ugly. Yes, I know, right, but they are the most lightest rims in the game. Always upsize the rear rim size maxed out. Keep the front rim size stock, small as possible. Tire compounder, you're going to go, obviously, to drag, right? And it does make the best 60 foot with those. Width is always going to be widened out. And then you're basically going to check out arrows. Now there's some gimmick cars where the arrows do better, and always remove the wing. This shows us red stats. That's all bullshit. Right? You're gonna want the less weight. It's just how it is. We're not really looking for downforce on the rear, right? I mean, we're gonna rely on the suspension and dampening to do the work with that. Right? We don't want to create drag or anything like that to hold us down. It's not really what we're doing with the drag tune. You know, because it's going to alter with the suspension if you have it on. But basically, yeah, you'll trap less on the top end. You'll be slowing down quite a bit. Remove the wings at all times. Right now with this, we're going to check weight. So side skirt, don't be adding any on this car, for example. This one's the 2017 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. We're just going to tune this live with you guys right now. Right, so as you see, there's dropped weight here. So we're going to pick one of these, whatever one you want. Essentially, and I like that. They're the same weight, so both of them were the same but lighter than stock, so we're gonna pick them. Right, we have everything, right? Easy setup, install. Okay, so now we're gonna go to tuning this car. Man, that car looks sick. Okay, so first of all, what you do, right, is, okay, it's dry. Now, I don't know if you guys know it, but there's telemetry that you guys can go up in, right? It's in your settings. So right at the campaign on the main menu there, when you hit pause, go to settings. And then, alright, controls, and then you're going to go change input mapping. Okay, now what you're going to do, hey, is you're mainly going to go down until you find telemetry. It's just in case you don't have it, right? So me, I always put it, you click on that, and then hit D down, like the arrow pad down, when it tells you to select the button you want to hit with it, so you don't overwrite any other buttons, right? But basically, I just put it on my down D-pad, and then basically what it is, once you set it up, you hit down on the D-pad, this stuff all pops up. See, steering, now you can hit over, right, or left. Friction, right, this is going to be like what your wheels are doing, all that. And then you're going to go over to suspension, right, you're going to see how much flex on the rear and the front. And, you know, just kind of see how everything's running. And then you're basically going to check G-force. See, so all that. Tires, this is going to be a big one. So you see on the bottom, you're going to be focusing mainly on the rears, right? With tuning, you're going to get the max 60 foot and acceleration with the rally suspension, with the drift diff, right? Once you get it all set up properly with the rebound rates, everything good, right? Because after you're coming off the line, getting the gearing right, everything comes into play, right? And so what you're going to do is you're going to look at the pressures, right? You're going to want to launch at a low pressure, right? But so you're not worried about the tops. You're worried mainly on the bottom left and bottom right. You see the pressures, and right, there's camber right now, right, because we haven't set that up. That's going to slow us down, so we will zero that out in a minute, because we're doing drag tuning. Now heat, if you go over to heat, this is going to be another main thing, right? So you're going to cook your tires. You know, this is telemetry, basically how it works. Just kind of rip around. You know, and make them, honestly, so they don't cool down stupidly quick. Just cook them all red. Just, and watch. See, now you'll have time to do your launch, right? You're going to have your pressures up a bit. You're going to see the pressures dropping. If you go back to the left, back to the right, you're going to see, right? Now you don't have to worry about, oh my god, my tires are cold instantly as soon as you stop, because you actually cooked them red, right? There's some... See, now you see where it's blue on the top right there. That's because of the camber, that it's cold on the inside of the tire, right? We're not going to be worrying about that right now, because we're going to be taking the camber out, like I said, right? So basically, I don't look at that. That's mainly just showing you your tires are warm. You look in the middle. The middle is the main thing, right? What we're looking at on temperature for the way we're going to set it up at all times with any car. You're never going to have camber or anything, right? So, and then you're basically going to look at those pressures. Once they drop, that's going to be how you consistently launch. Like, you see how that just hooks up instead of spinning? But if I let them get cold, it will spin. You know? And so basically, what we're going to do is we're going to test out this car right now. And so I'm going to cut ahead here. And we're going to just run it stock. We're going to see how the gears are, right? And we're just going to see how everything's set up. These guys are going to mop us right now because, well, obviously, you know, we're stock. So first of all, what I always decided, my final drive, okay, so how about this? And what I do, first thing, and I tune car. And now, front pressure is going to be less drag. It's going to be better trap, right? Better top end on the end if you have it up to, like, let's say 35 rather than down to like 18, right? Now the rears, that you're going to want to put them around, you know, people drop them all the way, but it's not good for tire heat, and then it's inconsistently running just like shit, right? So usually, man, right, I'll start around like usually 20 psi on the rear, because we want them dropped a bit, but we don't want them like stupidly dropped. Now, before I get to gearing and all that is, so tires, front, you want them as high as possible. The rear, you want them as low as possible, but not over low. And you don't want the fronts over high either, right? It's just how it works. And because, like, you know, it is still a little bit of front wheel torque, even though you have 80 to 90% to the rear on the torque distribution, right? It's never going to be like 100%, you know, rear wheel drive, right? So you do want to rely mostly on the rear to launch the car, though. So that's why we do that with the tires. So, and now gearing, we'll do that in a minute. So this is the camber, the alignment I was telling you guys about, right? So you're going to want to always, no matter what, any build, this is a no matter what, it's a must on any drag build, is zero out all your camber. Okay, now make sure your toes 0, right? Now front caster, you're going to have that. You're going to crank that up. It's going to make everything grip in a straight line as much as possible. Any roll bars, you stiffen them all the way on the front and the back. And that's why we added them. They're also lighter. But not only that, they are You know, like it makes the car like it's on a rail, because that's what drag cars are, right? They're not supposed to turn good or anything, and it's going to help with trap speed, just a smidge. And now, okay, so first of all, we usually will test out how the car is doing, right, before we screw with the springs and stuff. And like Forza, one thing to know, right, with certain cars, and you always gotta tune around and find out about it, right? But usually, some cars actually do well with the front high and the rear low, but that's not usually how it works in the real life, right? But it depends on your tuning. Right? Me, right? I like to put my front around the half as a starting point, and then the rear, I want it as high as possible, right? But not stupid high. So I'll usually put it, like around there, so you have suspension travel and you're not bottoming out with too soft of springs. And so dampening it, you're gonna put the rear always about 3/4 is a good point. I'd say about 3.5, right? Rebound stiffness. So when you bottom out the shock and it comes back up, right? If it's too stiff, it's not really gonna do that, and then it's just going to spin the tire, right? And now it's also going to affect your diff and all that kind of stuff, how they react, which we'll show you in a minute, right? There's a lot to go through with the tuning. It's very complex, believe it or not, but it's not bad once you kind of understand it. Right? So the front rebound, we don't want it to move much. We want it more stiff, right? Because we're relying on the rear mostly. It's just that there's a little bit of power coming through the front, just not much with how we tune. So I usually go, like 3/4 stiff on the front, right? And the rear will be mostly, maybe just over 3/4, if not maybe 3/4, 3.5 to 4 on the rear for stiffness. So it's not going to rebound and slingshot up and then bounce and hop the tires and spin. Right? So you want to find that perfect, lucky, happy medium. The rear is essentially kind of like that as well, bottoming out the shocks. And now the front, you're going to put it a little more on the stiff side. Go like 15. The rear, we're tuning this literally live, like, as I make this video. Just kind of a starting point of how I would do it to see. And then, right, we have downforce from this car stock, right? So you don't want to go all the way to the end. It'll actually create drag. You want to make it mostly speed, right, for the drag, but you want to make it maybe like 280. I go like 3/4 just over, right, to the speedway. And now, so you guys know, braking force, we won't have to worry about that really much with the drag car, right? But in this game, it's actually backwards, right, for some reason. Usually you'll have them to the front a little bit, right? If you have them to the rear, it'll drag. But for some reason, if you have like 5% to the rear, it'll actually brake better in the front. It's very weird. It's just a gimmick in the game yet again, right? How soon is your diff gonna lock up and right, you don't want too much lockup, right? But you also want a bit of lockup where it hooks up and goes. It's essentially your car's 60 foot in acceleration and takeoff, but that's going to justify with how your suspension's set up, right? And how you do it. So what I do is I go 50% on the front and 50% on the rear to start, right? And then I'll kind of go from there. Now this is like a good way to kind of baseline tune. And now 60% to the rear, right? We're gonna go up. Don't listen to these stats either. They all lie. It'll show you failed or slower or quicker. It's not how it works in this game. So it's a gimmick in the game that basically keeps you from having the fastest tunes, right? Because people don't understand that. Right? It's not about the stats in this game, right? So it's all about the setup, and how the sneaky devs are putting these secret little settings. It's like it's like the other games, Call of Duty. Look at them, aim assist and all this, and they have all these settings changing every day. But basically, this is going to be an overall how you want to baseline tune your car, any all-wheel drive car for that matter. I go 85% is the magic number on the diff to start, unless it's stupid light, like a 2,000 pound car with 2,000 horse, let's just say. Then you're going to want to go less than that. You want to go like, maybe 60% like it was. But yeah, besides that, most of the cars in the game, differential, 80 to 85%, sometimes 90, if you really know how to make it work. Yeah. And so we're going to just run it like this, and see what happens, just for a joke, without even touching the gearing, okay? 3.0. I'll show you guys that in a minute. But yeah, we'll just do that for a minute, right? No, this ain't going to be a good tune yet. It's just going to set up. We'll try launching it in launch control here. So e-brake, gas. If the tires are too hot, then you're not going to hook up. But there's a happy medium, Once those clear up on the rears, and then you also look at your pounds on the rear, right? So once you're basically going to go trap speed is not everything in this game as well. You do want to take that with a grain of salt, because you know, if you gap Buddy the first half of the track, but you're still pulling pretty hard, you know, and at the end, let's say if Buddy's at 220 miles an hour, right, he's trapping at the camera when it flashes, and you're trapping 210, but you could still beat that guy because, for example, right, if you find the happy medium between a bit of takeoff, bit of medium range, and a bit of top end, right, with a little bit less trap, you can actually beat the guy with a higher trap speed. That is what I wanted to really debunk about this video as well. But this is essentially what it's going to be about. And so, you know, you see how they're just getting a little cold, not too bad yet. We're going to launch it, just see what it does. So the gears need to be adjusted, right? We haven't adjusted those yet. We don't know if the car is good in the red line. You know, there's a lot of... Okay, 206, right? Just as an example. Just like a 4-speed is definitely all you need in this car, though. Like, honestly. I mean, you could put the 6, it's heavier. But, I don't know. It's kind of... See what this does first. So, what I like to do, I like to make tunes that launch maxed out like this. As you can see. Just by doing the setup, I kind of baselined it as. Already helped. So this car, I'm noticing it doesn't like to do the red line as much. See that you just want to use all your gears at maximum, right? By the time you hit the speed trap, you're gonna want to see. So let's do one more run, okay? So this is kind of how I tune these cars. Just give you an idea. So like, for example, we'll have like whatever, good enough. We'll do check the pressures, okay, not bad, and not too hot. Okay, cool. We'll just launch. Had a little spin. Third gear needs to be dropped shorter a little bit. Fourth gear needs to be just a smidge shorter. So what we'll do is I rewind, then I'll have to reset my restage and relaunch and check the heat again on my tires. Right when you rewind right off the bat, that's another trick, guys. Is it's going to basically keep all your tires and everything how it was set up. So when you do launch again, and as long as when you resume here, I hit pause, right? So it pauses exactly where my tire heaps are and everything too. And so what I'm going to do, right, for example, and I'm going to drop this down to about 18 on the rear for this car, but the way it's acting, right? And then I'm going to basically, I think the suspension's pretty decent, like it's pretty close. The rear we could probably soften just a little more, just to get it a little more, you know, to par. These diffs are working pretty good as well. So what we're going to do is, I think the 3.00 gearing is a perfect medium. It's not going to get you the best trap speed, right? It's going to get you close. But like I said, biggest trap speed, you're losing 60 foot at that point, right? You need a balance between both, right? So that's why, like, everyone gets it wrong. Oh, I trap 200 miles an hour or whatever, right? And it's like, you know, that doesn't matter. Like, it truthfully doesn't matter. Right? I have guys that trap higher than me and they don't win the race. And, you know, I've proven it on my channel a few times. So what I'm going to do is first gear is pretty good, right? We could probably, I'm going to put it to 2.87. Let's try that. Now, you can use the 0 to 60 miles an hour as like a reference, right? But that's considering if you hook up perfectly, right? So it's not going to mean that you're going to hook up and get it right, eh? But if my tires are right, we did do a good launch, and so that means we could shorten that first gear just a smidge. Right, so I'm going to go about 2.90. Second gear, right, we're going to go, no, I'm going to keep that down. I'll shorten third a little, right, just because as we've seen how the run went, right, and then I'll shorten this a little. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this at 2.95 actually for the first gear, shorten it. So to the right is going to be shorter, right, and then to the left is going to be longer. Now, when you get your gears kind of in an area where you think it's good, right, you're going to down, lower number is top speed. Think of it that way, right, longer. And so we're going to go down even 5 points at a time on the final drive is huge. You might even have to retweak the gears again, like you'll see. And so we're going to run that again, and then we're going to see, we had, what, 205 when we fired it up, and now we're going to try it again. Third gear's better. And now it might top out too soon. But we trapped 207 almost as 206.82. Okay, so we got to lengthen fourth gear just a little bit. See, we'll do that, right? So third gear and fourth gear, a couple notches taller, so to the left a little, and that'll get our trap even higher. It should, essentially, right? We have launch pretty good in this car, and like it's not bad. Do the rewind, right? Reset. This is a quicker way to tune, like I said. And now you're gonna go, we actually could just go like maybe 2 on the final drive. No, I wouldn't, because then you lose a bit of 60 foot. But then again, right, the 60 foot's not crazy in this car, so you kind of need to keep that a bit. And so we'll lengthen this. The higher the gear, the touchier the numbers get in increments. Like if you see on the bar on the bottom right, 1 tick drastically changes, right? And now if you're on the first gear, 1 tick barely changes, right? So you got to keep that in mind when you're going through each gear. And that's another thing to kind of look out for. And now top speed, right? You actually can look at that, Like for example, let's make this thing hit 220. I think that'd be ideal for what this car is able to do. And so we're gonna do it like that, okay? We're gonna spread it out a bit, nice and even, right? And now we're going to just launch control, e-brake, and launch. What, 205, or what was it, 206? Let's see if this goes better. It might have been my shifting that was bad. 206.23, so that actually gained 0.5 or 0.6 tenths, right, just from doing a little bit longer in the gears right there. Right, just to give you guys an idea of how it works, like in the game. And, you know, like the tuning, like it's, you could do launch control tunes, right? You could do full rev tunes. You could do second gear launch tunes. You know, like you can kind of do what you want with it. But now this car is going to be exactly made for this strip, right? You know, it's not going to be over crazy power, you know, but this is more of a casual car, right? It's not going to be one of those meta cars. This is just an example of what you know, it's a good car to show you guys kind of a baseline tune of how to do a baseline, and then you can fuck with it essentially, like right after, right? And so, I mean, you know, like it's one of those cars. People are going to be driving those meta cars. It's just how it is. I mean, we have them too, but we're not noobs, right? We like to, you know, actually play around with proper cars in this game now. But I'll post meta cars for you guys, essentially, right? Like that's mainly what I do for you guys. But I mean, this might be a good race, but I think that Trackhawk actually traps better than this. So, hold on, let's back up. Alright, we'll just try them anyway. We have a baseline tune. We won't be as quick. See, like, he will catch me because this car's just not... Oh, I guess it might be quicker. Well, I guess. See, we trapped 206 on an average. That's not crazy speed, right? But this is just a ZL1, right? It's not a... You know, it's not like the Pro Stock Camaro or Copo Camaro. It's not made for drag. So that's not bad, considering. See, racing from here, right, I would have to lengthen up my fourth gear a bit. And so that's what we'll do. And we'll do that just for shits and gigs. We'll go up, and just so we can race it. Man, alright, so that's kind of essentially how you want to tune. And then just kind of, you know, like sometimes having a bit longer of a gear if the car's torquey like this, right, it'll make it a little better. Like, you don't want to be redlining all day, you know? And this car, I notice it likes to start in the red line when you shift. Like, it likes to shift, you know, just in the red line where it starts, the red line, and then shift. It doesn't like to shift on the point of red line or way in the red line. Like, I've noticed that about this car. But depending on the gear. But then again, we're just refining tuning still. Oh, okay, if he pulls out an RTR, this car is not going to race that. I would have to pull mine out. See, that's what they usually do, right? They'll pull out a faster car. Man, he wants to play that game, man. We'll just pull one out for the video here. And like, I'll just get a dark horse out. This one's just a baseline tune that I did. I didn't really release it yet because it's not like a crazy good tune yet. And you know, like I'm not going to, you know, pull crappy tunes out on the channel. We're gonna cook these tires up a little bit. Oh, now he doesn't want to race. See? And now he wants to... See, man, I pull my Mustang out and then he leaves. Let's see how it is. Exactly my point. There's another Mustang. Basically, have fun with it. Hopefully this helps a little. I see now also another thing I was going to mention. When you launch, look at the rear and what it's doing. That's Buddy with another Mustang that he's trying out. Yeah, if your car has a lot of torque, a lot of power, try to keep the gears a little longer, but not overkill, right? But this car, it pulls very steady, because the less shifting the better if you have the power, right? That's why there's a lot of drag cars that'll have like 4 speeds and stuff like in the real world. Same idea, right? So, you know, find the balance, guys. Just find the balance. See what you could do with it, and you know, hopefully that video helps you out a little bit on how the tuning works in this game. But yeah, until then, get that perfect 60 foot if you can, while getting a decent close to high trap. You'll know by looking at the, you know, online, right? You'll see what people are trapping. If you're a few miles an hour below, doesn't mean you're gonna lose. Just see if you get that 60 foot and the nice mid pull. You might be able to hold off the guy with the higher trap speed, because he might have worse takeoff than you, and most likely does if he has a high trap speed. So until then, guys, keep it cool.